Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily English Lab podcast. Picture this. You're having a conversation with an American colleague. They ask you a question. You pause for 5 seconds to think about your answer. And in those 5 seconds, they already think you're being rude, dismissive, or uninterested. But you were just trying to formulate a good response in English. Here's the shocking truth. In American culture, there's an invisible 3-second rule. If you take longer than 3 seconds to respond in conversation, Americans interpret it as rudeness, awkwardness, or lack of interest. But nobody ever teaches you this rule. So you keep accidentally offending people without even knowing why. Your English might be perfect. Your grammar might be flawless. But if you don't understand the timing rules of American conversation, you'll still come across as rude or unfriendly. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to reveal the hidden timing rules that Americans follow unconsciously, why your pauses are killing your conversations, and exactly how to fix this so Americans finally perceive you as polite, friendly, and engaged. Ready to stop accidentally seeming rude? Let's crack this cultural code. Hey everyone, welcome back once again to the Daily English Lab podcast. I'm your English coach, and today we're diving into one of the most frustrating cultural differences that trips up English learners: conversational timing. So, here's why this matters more than you think. You can have perfect English, but if your conversational timing doesn't match American expectations, people will make negative assumptions about your personality. They'll think you're cold, uninterested, rude, or socially awkward. And the worst part? You have no idea this is happening. Because in your culture, those same pauses might be completely normal and polite. I've seen this destroy professional relationships, friendships, and even job opportunities. Learners with excellent English skills get passed over because their conversational timing makes them seem disengaged or unfriendly. And they never understand why, because nobody ever tells them about the 3-second rule. Today, I'm going to teach you the 5 critical timing rules that Americans follow unconsciously. First, the 3-second response rule and why it matters. Second, how to handle pauses when you're thinking of words. Third, the rules around interrupting and turn-taking. Fourth, how long your speaking turns should be. And fifth, the timing of acknowledgement sounds like mm-hmm and yeah. This is 25 minutes that will completely transform how Americans perceive you in conversation. By the end, you'll understand why your perfectly polite behavior is being interpreted as rude and exactly how to fix it. Before we start, tell me in the comments, have you ever been told you seem quiet, cold, or disinterested in English conversations? Or have you noticed Americans seeming impatient with you? Let me know, because this might explain why. And if you're ready to finally understand the hidden rules of American conversation, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. This is the kind of cultural insight that changes everything. All right, let's decode American conversational timing. The first and most important timing rule is the 3-second response rule. In American conversation, you're expected to start responding within 3 seconds of someone finishing their statement or question. Any longer, and Americans start feeling uncomfortable or think something is wrong. American culture values quick, dynamic conversation. Long pauses feel awkward, tense, or rude to Americans. In many other cultures, thoughtful pauses are respectful. But in American culture, they signal disinterest, disagreement, or social discomfort. If you don't respond quickly, Americans think you don't want to talk to them. The biggest mistake is pausing to formulate a perfect response. You're being careful with your English, making sure your grammar is correct, choosing the right words. But those 5, 7, 10-second pauses make Americans think you're upset, bored, or trying to end the conversation. Let me show you how this plays out in real situations. Example 1, job interview. Interviewer: tell me about a time you solved a difficult problem. Non-native speaker pauses for 8 seconds, thinking carefully. What the interviewer thinks: they're unprepared, they can't think on their feet, they seem uncomfortable. What you were doing: organizing your thoughts to give a good answer. The problem: that 8-second pause cost you. Americans expect you to start talking within 3 seconds. Even if you say, "Oh, that's a great question, let me think," I remember a situation where, example 2, casual conversation. American friend, want to grab lunch tomorrow? You, pause for 6 seconds checking your mental schedule. What they think. Oh, they don't want to hang out. They're trying to think of an excuse to say no. What you were doing, mentally reviewing your schedule. The solution, start talking immediately. Let me think about my schedule. I have a meeting in the morning, but yeah, I think lunch works. What time? Example 3. Disagreement. Colleague. I think we should do the project this way. You, pause for 7 seconds thinking about whether you agree. What they think, they strongly disagree but don't want to say it. This is awkward. What you were doing, considering their idea carefully. Better response. Immediate reaction. Interesting approach. Let me think through that. Then continue thinking out loud. Example 4. Compliment. Someone, I really like your presentation. You, pause for 4 seconds, surprised and thinking of how to respond. What they think, they didn't like my compliment. That was awkward. Better, immediate, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Even if you're surprised, respond quickly. Right now, I want you to practice instant responses. I'll give you a question, and you respond out loud within 3 seconds. Don't worry about perfect answers, just practice starting to talk quickly. Question. What did you do last weekend? Start talking now. Oh, last weekend, let me think. Question. Do you like living in this city? Start now. Yeah, I do. I mean, there are some things, but overall, see, you're giving yourself time to think, but you started talking immediately. That's the key. Think of conversation like a tennis match. When someone hits the ball to you, you can't hold it for 10 seconds deciding where to hit it back. You have to return it quickly. In American conversation, a quick, imperfect response is better than a slow, perfect response. I had a Japanese student named Kenji who was brilliant, thoughtful, and spoke excellent English. But in meetings, when people asked him questions, he'd pause for 8 to 10 seconds before answering. His American colleagues started excluding him from discussions, thinking he was uninterested or disagreed silently. After we worked on immediate responses, even just saying, "That's an interesting question," while he thought, his relationships at work completely changed. People started seeking his input more because he seemed engaged. Quick question. What's your natural response time when someone asks you a question in English? Are you a quick responder, or do you pause to think carefully? Let me know in the comments. So, the 3-second rule is critical. But what do you do when you genuinely need time to think of the right English words? That's where filler strategies come in, and we're covering those next. The second timing rule is about using fillers and thinking out loud strategies to maintain conversational flow even when you need time to think. Americans don't mind pauses if you fill them with words that show you're engaged and thinking. Silent pauses feel awkward in American conversation, but verbal fillers make pauses feel natural and engaged. The key is keeping sound coming out of your mouth while your brain catches up. This shows you're actively participating, not checked out. The mistake is going silent when you're thinking. In many cultures, silence shows respect and thoughtfulness. In American culture, silence creates discomfort and tension. Americans need verbal cues that you're still engaged in the conversation. Let me show you the difference between awkward silence and natural thinking time. Example 1. Question you need to think about. Awkward. What's your opinion on this? Silent pause for 6 seconds.
I think we should do option A. Natural. What's your opinion on this? Good question. Let me think about that for a second. I mean, there are pros and cons to both, but I think I'd lean toward option A because, see the difference? Same thinking time, but one feels engaged and the other feels dead. Example 2. Searching for a word. Awkward. Yesterday I went to the 4-second silence. Library. Natural. Yesterday I went to the, what's the word? You know where you borrow books? The library. You're thinking out loud, which keeps the conversation alive. Example 3. Complex explanation. Awkward. The reason is, long silence, budget constraints. Natural. The reason is, well, it's kind of complicated, but basically, it comes down to budget constraints.
Example 4. Remembering something. Awkward. I met her in 2018. Natural. I met her in, when was it? I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. You're narrating your thinking process, which feels conversational. Here are key filler phrases Americans use constantly. Let me think. That's a good question. How should I put this? You know what I mean? Well, actually, to be honest, let me see. What's the word? These phrases buy you 2, 3, 5 seconds while showing you're engaged. Practice using fillers right now. I'll ask you a question, and you answer using fillers to give yourself thinking time. Question: what's your biggest professional goal for this year? Practice. That's a great question. Let me think. I'd say my biggest goal is probably, how do I explain this? I want to improve my presentation skills, I think. Yeah, that's the main thing. Question: why did you choose your current career? Practice. Well, it's kind of a long story, but basically, I've always been interested in, what's the word? Problem solving? And this field lets me do that. Feels natural, right? You're buying time without creating awkward silence. Think of fillers as verbal breadcrumbs. You're leaving a trail of words for the listener to follow while you navigate to your destination. They're not just following you in silence, they're walking with you through your thinking process. This creates connection, not awkwardness. I coached a Korean engineer named Minjung who hated using fillers. She thought they made her sound unprofessional or uncertain. But her silence in meetings made Americans think she was hostile or disapproving. I explained that Americans interpret fillers as engagement, not weakness. She started using, "That's an interesting point," and "Let me think about that," before responding. Her reputation at work changed overnight. People started describing her as collaborative and thoughtful instead of difficult to read. Filler question: do you use fillers like well, or let me think in English, or do you try to avoid them? Let me know in the comments what your approach is. Fillers solve the thinking time problem, but there's another timing issue that confuses learners. When is it okay to interrupt, and when do you wait? That's our next rule. The third timing rule is about turn-taking and interruptions. American conversation has specific, mostly unconscious rules about when you can jump in and when you should wait. If you get these wrong, you seem either too aggressive or too passive. Different cultures have different interruption norms. Some cultures view overlapping speech as engaged conversation. Others view it as rude. American culture is somewhere in the middle, with specific situations where interruptions are fine and others where they're rude. Getting this wrong makes you seem socially clueless. The two mistakes are opposite extremes. Some learners never interrupt, waiting for perfect pauses that never come, making them seem disengaged. Others interrupt too much because in their culture it's normal, making them seem aggressive or rude. Let me break down when interruption is okay versus rude in American conversation. When interruption is acceptable. Situation 1. Showing agreement or enthusiasm mid-sentence. Speaker, and then we went to this amazing restaurant. I love that place, right? The food is incredible. Anyway, this type of interruption shows enthusiasm and engagement. It's welcome. Situation 2. Collaborative finishing or clarifying. Speaker, I need to submit the report by, when was it? Friday, I think. Yes, Friday, thanks. This is helpful, not rude. Situation 3. Time-sensitive information. Speaker, so I'll meet you at the coffee shop at 3. Oh, wait, I can't do 3. Can we do 4? Interrupting to save everyone time is acceptable.
When interruption is rude. Situation 1. Cutting off someone's main point. The reason I think we should change our strategy is because I disagree with changing strategy. Speaker, frustrated that you interrupted before hearing their reasoning. Wait until they finish their complete thought. Situation 2. Redirecting before they finish. Yesterday something interesting happened. I was walking to, that reminds me, I need to tell you something. This dismisses their story. Let them finish. Situation 3. Talking over someone without acknowledgement. I think we should do option B. You didn't acknowledge them at all. Even if you disagree, acknowledge first. How Americans signal, you can jump in now. Falling intonation at the end of sentences. Making eye contact with you. Pausing for more than 2 seconds. Using phrases like, what do you think? Or, you know? Taking a breath or sip of water. How to interrupt politely when needed. Can I just add something quickly? Sorry to interrupt, but before I forget, just to clarify, these phrases acknowledge the interruption, making it more acceptable. Let's practice recognizing interruption moments. Imagine you're in a conversation. I'll describe a situation, you decide, interrupt or wait. Situation. Someone is telling a long story about their vacation. They pause for a second to remember a detail. Decision. Wait. They're mid-story. Don't interrupt. Situation. Someone says, we should probably, and trail off, making eye contact with you. Decision. Jump in. They're inviting your input. Situation. Someone says something factually wrong that will cause problems. Decision. Politely interrupt with, sorry, just to clarify, and correct it. Think of American conversation like a group dance. Sometimes it's okay to jump in and sync up, enthusiastic agreement, clarification, but you can't just start a completely different dance move when someone else is mid-routine, cutting off main points. Watch for the invitation to join. Don't just take over. I had a student from India named Priya who never interrupted anyone, ever. In her culture, it was deeply rude. But in American meetings, by the time she got a chance to speak, the conversation had moved on. Her ideas were never heard. I taught her to use, can I add something, to insert herself politely. It felt uncomfortable at first, but her voice started being heard. Meanwhile, another student from Italy, Marco, interrupted constantly, because in Italian culture, it shows engagement. Americans found him aggressive. We taught him to recognize falling intonation as the signal to speak. Both had to adjust their cultural defaults. Interruption question. In your culture, is interrupting someone considered rude or normal? And have you struggled with this in English conversations? Share in the comments. Turn-taking sorted, but there's another timing element Americans are very particular about: how long you talk before giving someone else a turn. That's our next rule. The fourth timing rule is about how long your speaking turns should be. Americans expect relatively short back-and-forth conversation, not long monologues. If your turns are too long, people feel trapped. If they're too short, you seem disengaged. In many cultures, when someone asks you a question, giving a detailed, thorough answer shows respect. In American culture, long answers make people anxious because they can't participate. Americans want dialogue, not monologue. Get this wrong, and people avoid talking to you. The mistake is treating questions as invitations for long, detailed explanations. Americans ask questions to start a conversation, not to hear a speech. Answering in 10-minute monologues makes Americans uncomfortable and trapped. Let me show you the difference between conversation-killing long turns and appropriate lengths. Example 1. How was your weekend? Too long. Proceeds to give a minute-by-minute account of the entire weekend, every activity, every thought, every conversation. American thought is, oh no, I'm stuck here. How do I get out of this conversation? Appropriate length. It was great. I went hiking on Saturday and just relaxed on Sunday. How about yours? Notice, brief answer, then turn it back to them. That's the rhythm.
Example 2. Professional meeting. Too long, when asked for input, speaks for 5 minutes straight without pausing, covering every possible angle in detail. Team's thought. When can I jump in? Is there a question here? Are we supposed to respond? Appropriate. I think we should consider option B. Here are 2 main reasons: cost and timeline. What do you all think? Brief, clear, invites others in. Example 3. Storytelling. Too long. Tells an elaborate story with every background detail, every person's full backstory, every subplot. Listener's thought, where is this going? When will this end? Appropriate. Something funny happened yesterday. I was at the store, and the cashier thought I was someone else. Totally mistook me for her friend. We laughed about it. Concise, to the point, entertaining. Example 4. Explaining your job. Too long? Explains every responsibility, every project, every challenge, the entire company structure, your career path. Listener's thought, I just wanted a general idea, not your life story. Appropriate. I'm a software engineer. I mainly work on mobile apps for a healthcare company. It's pretty interesting. Brief overview. They can ask for more if interested. The sweet spot for speaking turns? Casual chat, 15 to 30 seconds per turn. Storytelling? 1 to 2 minutes max, unless they're clearly engaged. Professional settings? 30 to 1 minute. Answering questions? 20 to 45 seconds. Signs you've gone too long. The listener's eyes glaze over. They check their phone. They start shifting away or looking away. They interrupt with, anyway, or so. No follow-up questions. How to keep turns appropriate? Answer the question, then add 1 relevant detail, then turn it back. Watch for body language cues. Pause every 20 to 30 seconds to let them respond. Ask, am I rambling? If you're unsure. Use long story short if you catch yourself going long. Practice concise answers. I'll ask you a question. You answer in under 30 seconds. Question. What do you like to do for fun? Practice. I'm really into hiking and photography. I try to get outdoors every weekend. How about you? Question. How's work going? Pretty busy, actually. We're launching a new project, so lots of late nights. But it's exciting. How's your work? Notice the pattern? Answer, brief detail, turn it back. Think of conversation like a volleyball game. You hit the ball, they hit it back. You don't hold the ball and explain its history, manufacturing process, and physics properties. You keep the ball moving. In conversation, keep turns moving. Brief turns create energy. Long turns kill it. My Brazilian student Carlos loved telling detailed, elaborate stories. In Brazil, this is engaging and shows you're a good storyteller. But Americans kept cutting him off mid-story or finding excuses to leave conversations. He felt disrespected. I explained that Americans get anxious during long speaking turns. They want to participate, not just listen. We worked on condensing his stories. Instead of 5-minute epics, he learned to tell 2-minute versions and check if people wanted more details. His social life in the U.S. dramatically improved once he adjusted turn length. Turn length question. Are you a long talker or a brief talker in English conversations? Do people seem impatient with you? Or do you feel like you don't talk enough? Let me know in the comments. Speaking turn length is crucial, but there's one final timing element that's super subtle but important. When and how to use acknowledgement sounds. That's what we're covering next. The fifth and final timing rule is about using acknowledgement sounds like uh-huh, yeah, right, and uh-huh, while someone else is talking. Americans use them constantly to show they're listening. If you don't use them, Americans think you're not paying attention. In American conversation, the listener is active, not passive. We make sounds every few seconds to show engagement. Silence from the listener makes speakers uncomfortable. They think you're not listening, don't understand, or disagree. These tiny sounds build. The mistake is listening silently, which in many cultures is respectful attentiveness. In American culture, silent listening feels cold and disengaged. Americans need regular audible feedback that you're tracking with them. Let me show you how acknowledgement sounds work in American conversation. Example 1. Someone telling you a story. Wrong. Listening silently while they talk. Speaker's thought. Are they listening? Are they understanding? This is awkward. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They continue. Yeah. They continue. Oh, wow. They continue. Really? They continue. These sounds show you're engaged without interrupting. Example 2. Phone conversation. Wrong. Silent while the other person explains something. Hello? Are you still there? Right. Regular, uh-huh. I see. Okay. Right. Throughout their explanation. Phone conversations especially need acknowledgement sounds because there's no visual feedback. Example 3. Professional setting. Boss explaining something. Talking for 30 seconds. Wrong. Standing silently with no reaction. Boss's thought. Are they understanding this? Do they agree? Right. Nodding and saying, mm-hmm. I see. That makes sense. Okay. Right. When to use acknowledgement sounds. Every 5 to 10 seconds while someone is talking. After they make a point. Right. I see. When they say something surprising. Oh, wow. Really? No way. When they say something you agree with. Absolutely. Exactly. For sure. On the phone, even more frequently due to lack of visual cues. Types of acknowledgement sounds. Basic listening.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Understanding. I see. Okay. Got it. Agreement. Right. Exactly. Absolutely. For sure. Surprise. Oh, wow. Really? No way. Sympathy. Oh no. That's tough. I'm sorry. Let's practice active listening. I'll tell a short story, and you make acknowledgement sounds out loud at appropriate moments. Story. So, yesterday I was driving to work, and I got stuck in the worst traffic. It took me 2 hours to get there. I was so frustrated. And when I finally arrived, I realized I'd left my laptop at home. Your responses? Mm-hmm. During the first sentence. Oh no, at 2 hours. Ugh, at frustrated. Oh, wow. or seriously at the end. Try this with real conversations. Make conscious acknowledgement sounds and watch how differently people respond to you. Think of acknowledgement sounds as the keep going signal. Like a coach on the sideline encouraging a player. Keep going. I'm with you. You're doing great. In conversation, these little sounds encourage the speaker to continue and show them you're mentally present. My Chinese student Li was an excellent listener, attentive and focused, but she listened silently. Americans she talked to constantly asked, "Are you following me?" or "Does this make sense?" because her silence made them insecure. When I explained the acknowledgement sound rule, she thought it was strange and fake. But she tried it. Within days, people started telling her she was easy to talk to and a great listener. Nothing changed except she started saying, and "I see" regularly. Those tiny sounds transformed how people perceived her. Final question for this section. Do you naturally use acknowledgement sounds like when listening, or is this something you need to practice? Let me know in the comments. You now understand all 5 timing rules that Americans follow unconsciously, but before we finish, I need to warn you about 3 critical mistakes that will sabotage everything you just learned. Now that you understand American conversational timing, avoid these 3 mistakes that prevent people from applying these rules successfully. Mistake number 1, overcorrecting and losing your personality. Some people learn these rules and become robots, responding instantly with fake enthusiasm, using fillers every 3 words, and interrupting constantly. Don't lose yourself trying to be American enough. These rules should make you seem more engaged, not fake. Find a balance that feels authentic to you while moving toward American timing norms. You can respond within 3 seconds without being a completely different person. Mistake number 2, assuming everyone follows these rules. Not all Americans follow these rules perfectly. Regional differences, personality differences, and cultural backgrounds within America create variation. Some Americans are more patient with pauses. Some talk over each other constantly. Don't treat these as absolute laws. Treat them as general tendencies that help you calibrate. Watch the specific people you're talking to and adjust to their rhythm. Mistake number 3, forgetting to adjust for context. These rules apply mainly to casual and business conversation in American culture. In formal speeches, academic presentations, or interviews with non-Americans, different rules apply. Don't interrupt during a presentation. Don't use too many fillers in a formal speech. Calibrate these timing rules to the specific context. Casual coffee chat with an American friend? Follow all 5 rules. Formal business presentation? Some rules don't apply. Let's quickly recap the 5 timing rules that Americans follow unconsciously and why your perfectly polite behavior might seem rude. Rule 1, the 3-second response rule. Start responding within 3 seconds of someone finishing their statement. Longer pauses feel awkward or rude to Americans. Rule 2, use fillers to buy thinking time. Keep sound coming out while you think. Verbal fillers show engagement. Silent pauses create discomfort. Rule 3, turn-taking and interruption norms. Learn when interruption is acceptable versus rude. Watch for cues like falling intonation and eye contact. Rule 4, speaking turn length. Keep your turns brief, 15 to 45 seconds in casual conversation. Answer, add detail, turn it back. Don't monologue. Rule 5, acknowledgement sounds. Use yeah, I see, every 5 to 10 seconds while listening. Show you're engaged without interrupting. Master these 5 timing rules, and Americans will finally perceive you as polite, friendly, and engaged, even if your English isn't perfect. You just discovered the hidden timing rules of American conversation that nobody ever teaches, but everyone judges you on. Here's your homework. This week, focus on just one rule, maybe the 3-second response rule or acknowledgement sounds. Practice it consciously in every conversation. Then comment below and tell me which rule you chose and how it went. If this video finally explained why Americans seem impatient with you or why your conversations feel awkward, smash that like button and subscribe. Next week, I'm revealing the 5 English grammar mistakes that even native speakers make constantly, so you can finally relax about perfect grammar. You don't want to miss that. Remember, you're not rude, you're just following different cultural timing rules. Now you know the American ones, and you can choose to adapt. Stop seeming rude by accident. Start mastering conversational timing. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep building those cross-cultural communication skills. Let's master real American conversation together.